Attorney General William Barr now saying there could be more indictments, more charges coming in the criminal investigation of the Trump-Russia probe led by U.S. Attorney John Durham. AG Barr declining to say whether the public will hear anything about a report from John Durham prior to the November election. Now, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley getting really fired up, telling us last night he believes General Flynn was entrapped by the FBI, according to government documents, and he wants people who violated the law in the Trump, Russia, and Flynn probes prosecuted. Watch this.
Just to show you that there's unequal justice here in Washington, D.C., McCabe lied 2 or 3 times, and he's never been prosecuted. And Flynn was entrapped, and he's prosecuted, and it's probably cost him millions and millions of dollars to defend himself. I wish I could tell you when Durham's going to do more prosecution like the one he's already prosecuted. But I want to make very clear, I would like to have people that violated the law to be prosecuted. But the most important thing is between now and November 3rd, all of this information ought to be out for the voters' consideration of how unjustly the Trump campaign was spied on in the first place, and all the undercover things, including lying to the FISA court to spy on that campaign. This thing cannot happen again, and we got to make sure the people know it before the election.
Now, Senator Grassley is taking a civil liberties position, saying this could happen to any American. Joining me now is General Flynn's attorney, Sidney Powell. Great to have you back on, Sidney. Your reaction to Senator Grassley here?
Yes, he's absolutely right. If they can do this to General Flynn and President Trump, they can do it to any American. And that's why I wrote my book, License to Lie, back in 2014, because they did it to Senator Ted Stevens, and nobody did anything in response to that. So it's only gotten worse. It must be met with indictments this time, extremely serious indictments, because they did worse than entrap Flynn. They framed him. They made up the false statements. They made up the original allegations to investigate him, and they made up the false statements to prosecute him.
Let me back up. Peter Strzok is saying that, General Flynn lied twice to the FBI. And what is your reaction to that?
Well, Peter Strzok is the liar. Peter Strzok is the one who altered the 302 multiple times in conjunction with Lisa Page until he added statements that were not reflected in the notes of the 2 agents that interviewed General Flynn. And both Agent Strzok and Agent Pienka, who actually interviewed him, knew at the time he was telling them the truth. That's why Flynn was never re-interviewed. They didn't even warn him about a 1001 statement. They didn't let him look at the transcripts like they do every other witness. They treated him differently than anyone else they ever interviewed for anything. They schemed and planned to interview him in such a way he did not even know he was a subject of the interview or investigation, and they did that deliberately, violating all the rules in the process.
Yeah, no Miranda warning, no defense lawyer at a regular briefing that they were using, turning it into a criminal interview, and talking about setting him up in a perjury trap. That's according to government documents. We've got breaking news coming in. More than 24 phones reportedly used by the Mueller team, the special counsel Mueller team, reportedly wiped clean before they were turned over to the Justice Department Inspector General. Again, reports are coming in, 27 phones wiped clean. This is according to reports. Your reaction to that story, because this matters for what's going on with the Durham probe. Your reaction?
Oh, yes. This is obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence of the worst sort. I wrote about it in an article in 2018 complaining that Rosenstein and Mueller allowed the Strzok Page cell phones from the special counsel operation to be destroyed, and I demand that the IG seize all the other phones then and collect all the evidence off of them, and then the IG lets this happen. All of those phones should have been seized at the end of the special counsel operation while they were still doing it, and they should have nailed every one of them already.
The question, too, is will special counsel, the team, anybody on the special counsel's team, be implicated there? And then there's also this story. It's about abuse of the FISA court that's meant to wiretap terrorists and catch terrorists used on an opposition party. Do you think there will be perjury indictments brought down by John Durham, because the DOJ IG and even the FISA court heavily rebuked FBI officials for misleading the FISA court during the Trump-Russia probe? Your reaction?
They have misled the FISA court at every turn throughout the Trump-Russia probe, and long before. They have been abusing the surveillance systems of the United States against 16,000 and more citizens for several years now. Comey gave the 3 private contractors unlimited access to the entire NSA database to mine it like it was their own Encyclopedia Britannica. And I bet if they went and looked, they would find that they sold the results of those mining operations to the highest bidders wherever in the world they wanted them.
Yeah, we're looking at audit reports from the FISA court under the Obama administration. At one point in 2015, 85% of the searches of the FISA, in the FISA court, searches on regular Americans, we're looking at it right now, made by under the Obama administration, 85% at a certain period of time in 2015 broke the rules, broke the FISA, a certain type of FISA search, broke the rules, looks like 85% of the time. That's a lot. These are Fourth Amendment rights we're talking about, Sidney. Your final word.
Exactly. Yes, they ignored the Fourth Amendment rights of thousands and thousands of American citizens to do their own bidding for their own political operations and for their own financial benefit. It's absolutely appalling, and this abuse needs to stop.
All right. Sidney Powell, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.